Greetings! I am the Top Hat Gaming Man. About a week ago on my channel, I uploaded a video showing my NES boxed game collection. Just to make you aware, that was just my boxed NES games, as I appeared to get quite a few comments about why haven't you got this game or why haven't you got that game? When in fact 95% of the time I did have that game, just bloody loose. So again, today, this time, since the last one was so popular, we are going to look at my boxed SNES games. Yeah! But again, like last time, just to reiterate, this is just my boxed games. I have plenty of loose carts as well. So before you ask me on the comments why I've not got this game, or why I've not got that game, in all likelihood, I probably have. My SNES collection is one of the deepest collections I own. So when it comes to SNES gems, I think I've collected the majority of them. There's very few decent SNES games I don't own. Here we go. Lufia, big box. Super Metroid, big box. Mario Paint, big box. And Earthbound big box, which I must say is an NTSC copy, as Earthbound was never released in Europe, whilst all those others are PAL games. Yeah. Right, let's get to the new ones then, which I've not showed you yet. We'll start at the top. The Fireman. This is a very expensive PAL game that was never released in North America. It's pretty hard to get a complete copy like this these days. I was lucky lately actually finding one, but this is actually a fantastic game, and if you've not seen it yet, earlier this week I actually released a review of this fantastic game, so I advise you to watch that on my channel if you've not yet seen that. It's made by Human and came out in 1994, which was all round a fantastic year for gaming, in my opinion. Another, I think this was 1994 as well actually, Donkey Kong Country. What is there really to say about it? We've all played it, we probably all love it. 1994, again it came out, and I had a great Christmas playing this, and I've got a lot of memories from that year, well that Christmas playing this game. Fan-bloody-tastic. What else? Donkey Kong Country 3. This is one I've got fairly more recently, because I think this one was released pretty close to the Nintendo 64's release, so by the time this game came out I was already awaiting the Nintendo 64, so I left it at the time, and I was still getting fun out of Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, so I didn't really need a third one yet at that stage. Chrono Trigger. Again, a huge, massive JRPG, very, very popular. If I'm not mistaken, it was a collaboration between the team who made Final Fantasy and the team who made Dragon Quest. So you can't get any more high profile than that. Again, because it's a JRPG, never released in Europe. Well, not at least until recently on the DS. But this SNES one I imported from the United States. So yeah, Chrono Trigger, fan-bloody-tastic. Again, Final Fantasy 3, known as Final Fantasy 6 in Japan. Again, JRPG, so never released in Europe. I think a big reason behind these JRPGs missing European releases is because obviously Europe is made up of many countries, and pretty much each of those speak their own language. So could you imagine fitting all those different language translations of these huge games onto those tiny little SNES cartridges? That's pretty unlikely, isn't it? So if they wanted to release these games in Europe, they would have had to release an individual one for each country, which would have been a bloody nightmare really. So that's why I assume we didn't get most of the JRPGs in Europe. Super Mario World. One of the first bloody SNES games I played. I was playing this before I even owned my own one. My uncle, who was only 13 years older than me, he had a SNES, and I used to spend bloody hours in his bedroom watching him play the games. He would never let me have a go at it though, the bloody bastard. Not until I went to my friend's house and had fun and played Sonic the Hedgehog, and I told my mum and dad I wanted a Mega Drive, then hey ho, he lent me it. I had it around my house for a good month or two, and then later that year my parents gave me my own SNES for Christmas. Yeah! Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, another 1994 game. If I am correct, it's actually pretty... I won't say it's rubbish, that's a bit harsh, I'd say it's very, very average. If you was a big fan of the series, it still was average. I loved bloody Power Rangers at the time, and I just found this game average. Is it worth a play? Possibly, but it doesn't set the world on fire. Donkey Kong Country 2. We've gone through the other two, so this one. I think I got this for my birthday when it was pretty newly released. Yes, yeah, I got this on my birthday. And again, I had a lot of fun with it, but I'm in the minority and actually believe this one's highly inferior to the first game, simply because some of the controls just seem bloody broken, like that bloody snake thing. You play as some snake, you transform into a snake, and whenever you play as it, the controls are absolutely diabolical. So if you must play one of the original Donkey Kong Country games, stick with the first one, it's much better. Race driving, bundle game, never played it. Lord of the Rings, bundle game, never played it. Super Mario All-Stars, I got this in 1993 for Christmas when I got a SNES of my bloody own. I was rather underwhelmed by it though, I must say, as it was the first time I can recall in my lifetime bloody games being re-released. So Super Mario Brothers 1, 2 and 3, I'd bloody played them all before, so really all I had was the lost levels. Great. Mario is missing. This game, what's the best word? It bloody traumatised me. I had such a bloody awful birthday when I went to Lewisham Precinct and picked out this game from bloody Boots. Terrible game. Like, they call it educational as well. I don't think I bloody learnt much. I was more, other than I learnt that not all Mario games are good. Obviously. Did I say Mario's Time Machine? Not sure. Mario is missing. That's what I meant to say. Mario's Time Machine is the sequel. Freudian slip. PGA Golf Tour. Bundle game. Never played it. F-Zero. A fantastic little racing game. Again, this is a game I played a lot, but I've only recently got my own copy myself quite recently, which is quite hard to believe when you look at all my games, but it's one of those games which isn't worth hardly anything at all, maybe about £15, but for some reason every time you see it listed on eBay, it's mainly those idiots trying to get like £40–50 for it, for scalping bastards. But luckily I managed to get my own cheap copy for 15 eventually. One came up for auction in the end. Street Fighter 2, Japanese copy. Don't quite know why I own that, but I do. Can't remember why I own that. Axlay, another Japanese copy again. Why have I got these Japanese games? Who knows? Gun Hazard. I think I bought this just because I went to a retro game store in Streatham in South East London, and they didn't have the best stock in the world. So no wonder you go to a shop and it just doesn't have that great stock, but you have to buy something anyway. Retail therapy. That's why I've got Gun Hazard. It's I think it's a bloody JRPG from as far as I'm aware, but obviously it's in Japanese. It's useless to me. Secret of Evermore. I bloody love Secret of Mana, and I bloody love, I can't pronounce it, Seiken Daietsu 3 as well. I've got a translation card in here somewhere. That's fantastic too. Secret of Evermore, rather unfulfilling though, I must say. Yeah, no. Rendering Ranger. This is a game I think which was only released in Japan, so this is a reproduction cartridge of it. I think again this was a bundle game, but a fairly interesting one. I think it's a bit Contra-esque, but not really my cup of tea, I have to say. Kirby's Ghost Trap. It's actually one of those Puyo Puyo puzzle games, and first time I actually played one of those actually, and I have to say, I really bloody enjoyed it. That was back in the 90s and a fantastic puzzle game. It really is great. Maybe as good as Tetris even. I know that's really stretching it, especially considering Puyo Puyo came out a lot later, but I find Puyo Puyo just as fun as Tetris. Super Punch Out. It's alright, isn't it? It's a punch out game, but I think the original one on the NES is a lot more fun, and the Wii version of Punch Out is even better than the NES version, so I'd put this at the bottom of the pile in those three, but still, it's Super Punch Out, it's okay, it's quite good. Worms. I don't think I've ever actually played the SNES version. Bundle game. Street Racer. I'm not quite sure when I got this copy, but I remember my next door neighbours in London when I lived there had Street Racer 2. And if I remember, it was like basically a dodgy Mario Kart knockoff. Fairly fun at the time, I think, but I think I've had a couple of goes at it since, and it just looks a bit, I don't know, it's a bit bizarre really, all like the scrolling's a bit odd, so no, won't talk much about that. Gooftroop, pretty entertaining. It's basically, yes, I'd say this is a hidden gem. It's essentially, it's a Zelda clone really, but in the form of like Disney Gooftroop, made by Capcom. How bizarre is that? But pretty decent. Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. Again, you know the theme, a bloody JRPG, so no European release. I remember seeing this in Nintendo official magazine as a child and really bloody wanting it, and then it just never bloody came out, as I said. So, but later on as an adult, I did manage to import a copy, but not until I was a bloody man already. Aladdin. Again, a Capcom game. I think I got this again the first Christmas. I actually had a SNES. Really, really fun game. And unlike many people, I do believe that the SNES version of Aladdin is vastly superior, that was a bit of a word botch, superior to the Mega Drive counterpart. The Mega Drive 1 does feature better graphics, I think, but I just think the gameplay in the SNES version is far superior. It's just a lot more fun. Jurassic Park, not really got that much to say about it, other than I think it has a fantastic soundtrack. For some reason it seems to have a song very, very, very similar to the theme song of the Amiga game Comic Bakery, which is nice. Illusion of Time, known as Illusion of Gaia in North America. I suppose it's an action RPG, so it got released. I suppose it would have needed all the translations the same, but we did get action RPG, so maybe it wasn't translations that was the reason we didn't get JRPGs. Who bloody knows? But anyway, Illusion of Time. This is essentially kind of like a trilogy of action RPGs made by Quintet, I think. This was the one they released in the middle. And I'll be honest, I've not got round to playing this one quite yet. There's so many bloody games out there. But this is one I intend to play very soon, I must say. Oh, Megaman X. I bloody love Megaman X. When I was a child in England, I don't remember anyone else ever owning any Mega Man games. And this was the first one I ever played myself. I had jolly good fun with it from what I remember. Basically, my mother used to bring home with her a lot of games for me on payday on the way home from work. I think she'd usually bring home about one a month. And what she used to do to ensure that I would get a quality game is she would actually speak to the man behind the counter in an electronic boutique and ask him to recommend games for her to bring home for me. And Mega Man X was one of those games. So thank you, unnamed electronic boutique man. This is a lovely game and probably one of my favourite series of games, full stop. Bloody love Mega Man X. Vastly, what's the word? Underappreciated in Britain, I must say. Jungle Strike, not really my cup of tea, got to say. Super Bomberman. This was the first game I can ever recall playing 4-player on one Christmas. Using a multi-tap, the Bomberman. I do like Bomberman, I have to say. If I recall, I've got Super Bomberman 1 and 2 boxed. I still need 3 altogether. Not got 3 yet. And I've got Super Bomberman 4 and 5, cartridge only, which are only released in Japan. So I still need number 3, but great series. Okay, this is the one I screwed up earlier when I called Mario's Missing Mario's Time Machine. Here we go, actual Mario's Time Machine. I think actually the first ever time I bought a copy of Nintendo official magazine, they was actually advertising this game in there. I think this was actually the cover art for the magazine as well, because it's pretty fetching, bloody Mario in a time machine. But when I read the blurb, or got my one of my parents to read the blurb because I was so bloody young, I quickly decided that the game looked a bit crap, and I didn't go for it. The only reason I've acquired it now, because again, it's one of those bundle games. Hey, everyone gets games they don't want in bloody bundles, but it's the only way to get the real treasure. Castlevania Vampire Kiss. For those of you who are uneducated and only know about games in your own region, Vampire Kiss is actually called Dracula X in North America. But called Vampire Kiss here in Europe. It's alright, it's not quite as good as Castlevania 4, but again it is a rare gem, and I think the graphics and the music are absolutely bloody fantastic for the SNES, I must say. Terranigma. This is one the Yanks didn't get full stop as far as I'm aware. This is another one of that quintet trilogy with Illusion of Time. Terranigma is the third game in the series, and it is bloody fantastic. A great action RPG in which I've had a lot of fun with. Great game, and probably a game I will review on my channel fairly shortly, I should imagine. It's definitely high on the priority list to do a video about, I have to say. Street Fighter 2. This was actually the first SNES game I saw and played full stop. This is the game I have the most memories. I remember watching my uncle play in his bedroom. Like I said, there wasn't that big an age gap between us. I think I was probably 7 and he was 19. So yeah, I remember watching him play this a lot, and eventually when he did lend me my SNES, which was probably like a month after, everything just feels so much longer when you're a child, I actually remember beating this game the first night I had it, which felt rather thrilling, I must say. First time I beat a game full stop. Desert Strike, not got much to say about that. Bundle game. Alien 3 bundle game. SimCity bundle game. Prince of Persia. Did you know there was a Prince of Persia SNES game? Bundle game. Legend of Bloody Zelda, A Link to the Past. Obviously one of my all-time favourite SNES games, but it's one of everyone's all-time favourite SNES games. It's many people's favourite game of all time as well. It is bloody fantastic. I can't really say I've got anything negative to say about it, really. Yeah, I love it. Link to the Past. I remember actually I had a school friend who actually used to come around and he used to help me get past bits on this because he beat it before me, and he showed me all stuff like bloody throwing a boomerang like in that pond and then it changes into a different boomerang and little Easter eggs like that basically. Super Street Fighter 2. This is one I acquired fairly recently as well, I think. It's one I remember seeing a lot in Nintendo Official Magazine, but by that point I already had Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo, so my mother was like, no, you can't have Super Street Fighter 2, that's just a bloody re-release essentially. Why would you want it? It's just the same game, which was a fair point to be fair. It wasn't really worth the money. But in a new world, essentially, where games are a lot cheaper now than they was back then, well, the majority of them anyway, it's definitely worth owning. Probably, this is the best Street Fighter game on the Super Nintendo. Although, there's obviously, I think there's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the 3DO, which is an even better version of this game. But I'm yet to get the 3DO. But, of course, I will get one soon. Street Fighter Alpha 2, the last bloody Street Fighter game released on the SNES. This is a game that was really intended for the likes of the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation. So this version's a little bit slow in comparison to those ones, but it's a miracle really at all the SNES could even pull it off. So, well done whoever managed to do that, I suppose. Oh, dropped it. Oh well, that's what box protectors are for. Micro Machine. Again, I've not actually played that. Only reason really, I've always thought of Micro Machines as a Mega Drive game. I've got lots of Micro Machine games on the Mega Drive, and all my bloody friends had Micro Machines when I was a child as well on their Mega Drives, and they used to rave about it. Does that mean the Mega Drive had a more inferior library to that of the SNES if they cared about Micro Machines, and SNES owners it was just a drop in the ocean? You decide. Super Mario Kart. Yeah, I love this one. The battle mode's really fun as well, where you pop each other's bloody balloons. I think this game doesn't get appreciated quite as much as it used to, but it's one of those games that just keeps soaring up and up in value for some reason. Anything with bloody Mario in it just keeps going up. I suppose that's the way of the world. Mario equals money. It prints money, doesn't it? Yeah. Pushover! Bundle game. World Cup 94, bundle game. Super Putty. This, I think, this was originally an Amiga game that got ported over to the Super Nintendo. Of course, didn't know that at the time, but if I remember, this one was actually really, really difficult. I never actually beat it and put a lot of time into it. It's probably very average, but you know, when you're a child and you have a limited amount of cartridges you can play, if there's a game you've not beaten, you'll go for it, won't you? So I think actually they bloody released a putty game as one of the launch titles on the PS4. What the bloody hell is that all about? How random. Super Castlevania 4. This was one I didn't have as a child, and I certainly didn't know it existed. I think the majority of the world, especially us Europeans, was educated regarding Castlevania simply because of AVGN. He put the bloody franchise on the map, in my opinion. Well, he definitely put it on the map in Europe. We knew of Castlevania, but not until the Nintendo 64 era. And we just thought of it as the crap games they released, the Castlevania 64 games. They sold pretty well as far as I'm aware. The Nintendo 64 did do better than the SNES and the NES in general in Europe, well, in the UK anyway. But yeah, so Castlevania, I just thought of those crap games on the Nintendo 64. I wasn't even aware that there was SNES and NES games which featured Castlevania, but this one's pretty decent, although I must say it's very, very good. But at the same time, ooh, I just think Castlevania is a little bit overhyped, but purely because of AVGN. Like, whatever he says on the internet seems to be how it's basically viewed. So if he says something's brilliant, oh, it's brilliant. If he says something's crap, oh, it must be crap. Where I find a lot of the time, he has poor taste, let's be honest. He doesn't like fine wines like me. The bloody idiot drinks that horrible, I don't even know what it's called. That's how cultured I am. I don't even know the names of American beers, but he drinks that disgusting American beer. Rolling Rock, that's the one. I remember seeing it in the back of smashed up cars outside motels. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I'm trying to remember my story regarding Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't know, but obviously I got it after Street Fighter 2. That's it. My uncle got Street Fighter 2, and then I got my own copy and I got Street Fighter 2 Turbo. That'd be why. Bulls vs Blazers bundle game, Kickoff bundle game, Tasmania bundle game, FIFA International Soccer, the first ever FIFA game. Imagine that. If they had known back then what a gigantic franchise this would become. Bundle game, Total Carnage bundle game, Doom! Doom. Well, as far as I'm aware, I've not really played it, but I think the SNES version of Doom is probably one of the weaker versions. You've got it on the bloody Sega Mega CD, the PlayStation, I think the Saturn, the PC. So if you're going to play Doom, you're not going to play it on the bloody SNES, are you? Bundle game. The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I was actually talking about this on Twitter earlier today, saying how underappreciated this game is by the internet. Everyone's always going on about, ooh, Turtles in Time, ooh, Castlevania, but no one bloody talks about Mystical Ninja, when this was the one I actually grew up with out of those Konami games, and it's bloody fantastic. I think it's much more fun than Castlevania. You still get to whip things and all of that, but there's just a little bit more diversity in the gameplay. Fantastic game, Mystical Ninja. And what made me really sad is I remember reading about number 2, which I've got now, but it's cartridge only, was only released in Japan. I remember reading about it in Nintendo Official Magazine and really bloody wanting it. And they never bloody released it in North America or Europe, it just stuck in Japan. So obviously you idiots thought this looks, oh, it looks too Japanese, oh, I'm too uncultured to enjoy that, I better stick to my really Western titles. Yes, I suppose that must have happened. So yes, none of you bloody bought Mystical Ninja, so we never bloody got 2, 3 and 4. We never got another one till that god-awful Goemon, or Goemon, however you pronounce it, Goemon 64. We never got any more until that, and that one was crap in comparison to its prequels. But, because yeah, like I said, I read about number 2 and was just waiting for it to come out for ages, and then it just wasn't coming. Then I remember like buying another magazine like a year or 2 down the line. Then it was up to number 4. Could you imagine my heartbreak realising that, oh, these games are probably never coming out? That was like the first instance I can recall like being let down regarding releases of games in Europe. Battletoads in Battle Maniacs. Yes. It's alright, isn't it? Nothing special. No. Spider-Man, X-Men, and LJN bundle game. Nintendo Scope 6. This is actually a reproduction box. My actual game came in a big box with a bloody Super Scope. But I've had this custom box made because it looks rather fetching, what you say, and it's just easy to slot in with the others. It's alright, it's basically, what's the word for it? I can't think of the word, but basically it's just like, it's a showcase. It's a showcase of basically what you can do with the Super Scope. So basically, shoot things. It's basically the SNES's answer to Duck Hunt, I suppose. Earthworm Jim, he's such a super guy. I had bloody good fun with Earthworm Jim. So bloody quirky, so zany, so 90s. If the Earthworm Jim pretty much summarises what the 90s was all about. Just wackiness, toilet humour, randomness. It's great, I suppose. The gameplay's not the best, I suppose, but it gets the job done. Like I said, it's good, I suppose. Yes. Rather analytical, aren't I? Starwing, known as Star Fox in North America. They changed the name of it to Starwing, as far as I'm aware, because there was already a company in Germany called Star Vox with a V, which sounds rather similar, and there was already a game named Star Fox on some of the microcomputers as well, so that would have been a little bit confusing. However, Guru Larry actually wrote in the comment section of one of my videos that neither of those were the reasons why Nintendo renamed it in Europe, and it was actually because oh no, that wasn't it. The one of the Nintendo 64, Star Fox 64, we had named Lilac Wars instead of Star Wing, and the reason they changed it from Star Wing again to Lilac Wars was because they had exclusive LucasArts games on the Nintendo 64, and apparently George Lucas thought Star Wing sounded way too much like Star Wars, so apparently, what's his face? Miyamoto, he made them change it and said, no, you're not allowed to call it Star Fox, you're not allowed to call it Star Wing, it's Lilac Wars now, yes. And speaking of LucasArts, bloody Super Star Wars. This game's ridiculously difficult. It is nice and all, but I've been trying to complete this for bloody years. It's just one of those annoying games, like Super R-Type, where the minute you get killed, you lose all your power-ups. So the more you die, the harder it is. Like, what's up with that? Surely the more you die, it should become easier, not the other way round. So if you're the more you struggle, basically. But the minute you've got a good weapon, you've got a much higher survival chance. So the best way to play it is you'll get through 3 or 4 levels with the best weapon. Then the minute you're dead basically, because once you respawn, you'll have no power-ups at all and you'll just be completely screwed. So a flawed game, Super Star Wars, in my opinion. Theme Park, I got this game later. Whenever I played Theme Park, I remember playing it on a PC or the PlayStation. So playing the SNES version would have been a little bit of a downgrade, so not really had a go at that. Secret of Mana. Who doesn't like Secret of Mana? One of the finest games on the bloody system, an action RPG. This is an interesting note, actually. Apparently Secret of Mana was originally meant to be a Final Fantasy title, but they changed the name to Secret of Mana because they felt that the game deviated far too much away from the other Final Fantasy games in the series. So they thought, this is an action RPG. You can't call an action RPG Final Fantasy. So what happened this year? They released an action RPG and called it Final Fantasy 15. Talk about indecisive. I know it's been 20 years later, but stick to your bloody guns, Square. If you're going to say, oh, it can't be called Final Fantasy because it's an action RPG, don't make another bloody action RPG and call it Final Fantasy, you lunatics. Oh. Soul Blazer. The other game made by Quintet and Enix in that trilogy, as far as I'm aware. So you've got Illusion of Time, aka Illusion of Gaia, Terranigma, and the first one that came out was Soul Blazer. Reproduction, well, not a reproduction, a translation cut of, I'm probably going to butcher it again, Sikien Daietsu 3, I can't say it, released The Secret of Mana 2. Now this game is every bit as good as the other Secret of Mana game, and it's a bloody shame they didn't release this game in neither North America or Europe. It was a Japan exclusive, but I strongly urge you to play a translated version of this game. Like I said, it's bloody excellent and every bit as good as Secret of Mana. Another translation card I've got here, Megaman and Bass. Now this is pretty crazy. Apparently this game was released in Japan in 1998. Like, how mad is that? They were still releasing SNES games in Japan in 1998. That was the bloody same time I was playing the likes of Banjo-Kazooie. So I was playing Banjo-Kazooie, and in Japan there was still a market for SNES games. But sadly, although it's Mega Man and Bass, it's awful. It really is terrible. It's not the same quality. The graphics are amazing. It looks as good as Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation. But the gameplay is just not as good as Mega Man 7 or Mega Man X1, 2 and 3. It's actually a bit broken, I suppose. What else? There's a few Nintendo 64 games in here, but I'm not going to bloody talk about those. We'll save those for another video. So 4 more. Plock, made by the Pickford Brothers, a bloody English game. Side-scrolling platformer, absolutely brilliant. I've made a video all about it on my channel about 6 months ago. If you'd like to see that, Plock lives on to this day, as the Pickford Brothers are currently releasing comic strips and releasing comic books starring Plock. So if you like the game Plock, check out those comic books. If you've never played Plock, play it and watch my review. Only a few more to go through. Mega Man 7, a very rare game. What is there to say about Mega Man 7 that's not been said before? Not a lot, I suppose. It's bloody fantastic. Mega Man X2, probably the rarest game. The rarest game I owned as a child, as in what's worth the most. I think it's worth about £400 or something like that, maybe even more than that. And I actually had it as a child because I loved Mega Man X so much. I remember seeing Mega Man X2 in the shop where I was like, "Mother, I want that one." But like I said, I was one of the only people, I was the only person I knew who knew about Mega Man. So that'd be why it's so rare and desirable now. So I'm just going to cough. That's better. This is, last but not least, I didn't even mean to get this one out last, but Mega Man X Three. This is the most I've ever played for a game, full stop. I literally paid out my nose for this. Why? Because like I said, I love Mega Man X so much. I had Mega Man X, I had Mega Man X2, and I remember reading about this one in Nintendo Official Magazine and never actually seeing it for sale anywhere as a kid, and thinking I really bloody want Mega Man X3. It would have came out right at the end of the SNES's lifespan in Europe. In fact, I was playing Mega Man X2, I think, on the Christmas Eve before I got the Nintendo 64. That's how much I bloody loved Mega Man X. So this one was a game I wanted and craved for years and years, and just remember looking for it around boot sales, looking for it on eBay, and never finding it for a good price. Until in the end, I just basically spent loads on my credit card and bloody bought this complete copy here. I won't say how much I paid for it because it's rather embarrassing. I didn't pay quite what it's worth now, but it was a lot of bloody money for a computer game, like a disgusting amount. So yes, Mega Man X3, yeah. So I've made a bloody mess now. I've got bloody SNES games everywhere, and this video was ridiculously bloody long. I can surely waffle about SNES games, can't I? So if you're still here, which is amazing if you are, because this video has been mentally long, then well done. You get another pat on the back. Yeah. So click one of the annotations following this video if you've not seen all of my content, and don't forget to subscribe. Yeah. Cheerio!